guys, my name's Bethany and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be taking a video that I actually shot at the end of October and turning it into a video for Vlogmas. I never released it because I had an insane end of October and November, so I just didn't get to. But it is still very good information. I just happen to have Halloween decorations up on my shelf while I'm talking about it. So without further ado, let's check out the video. Today we are going to be going over how I organize my reading, how I track it, how I keep track of the books I'm going to read, and all of those little systems that I do. And I generally keep track of things throughout the month as well as the year, so let's get into it. First off, what you should know about me is I am a very organized person. I love lists. I like computer programs that will make lists for me, so we have a lot of that. So basically how it starts off is that each month I take a look at my bookshelf and I kind of go through my books. And for instance, this month is October, so obviously I want to probably read more fantasy, more spooky reads, and it's a little bit more themed than other months might be. And so what I did was I looked through my entire bookshelf and I compiled a little section that is basically my to be read shelf for the month. So these are all the books that I am seriously hoping to read a little faster than just my general TBR list. And I'm obviously not going to read all of these books throughout the month unless something just spectacular happens. But it gives me a range of books to choose from because I wouldn't say I'm that big of a mood reader. So I can kind of stick to a list, but I do like to have some options. For this month, I have already taken obviously a couple books off the shelf because I've read them and they go onto other specific shelves on the bookshelf, like a YA shelf of books that I've read. All of my book of the month books that I've read go on a certain shelf, so I kind of have those together, like to keep it organized. So once I have my shelf of books, I have an idea of what I want, I input it into my Excel spreadsheet. And this is where I track the majority of my books, both past and present, as well as any lists that I'm keeping, challenges, anything like that. So if all goes well, I have hopefully screen recorded my Excel spreadsheets and they'll be popping up here. So probably my most used spreadsheet is going to be my current month, or like my essentially like reading tracker list. So on the very left is the number of books that I'm at throughout the year. For instance, the last book that I read was Reflection, which is part of the Disney Twisted Tales. And I have that on there listed as book 82 because it's the 82nd book that I've read in 2020. I then also have, of course, the title, the author, and then I keep track of a lot of things in my books that I'm reading. I like to look at how long they were, so how many pages, of course. I like to look at who are they targeted for, so like, are they an adult targeted book, YA, middle grade? I keep track of that. I've also very recently, in very recent months, trying to keep track of the author and their kind of demographics for that book. So what is their race, if that is necessary, or what is their sex, what do they identify as, because I wanted to be a little bit more inclusive in my goals and my reading. So I like to keep track of and just kind of hold myself a little bit accountable. Next up, I like to keep track of when the book was published, just to kind of see like how many new books am I reading, how many older books, how many classics, things like that. Not that I have any specific goals for it, but it's nice to keep track of. And then after that, we go genres. So I have my own classification system where it's basically like the main identifier for the book. So whether it's a contemporary, a historical fiction, a fantasy, a nonfiction, I keep track of that in one section, and then the next are all like the little sub-genres. So whether it's romance or a mystery or dystopian or anything like a smaller qualifier for the book, I keep that in a separate one. It helps me search for it, so especially with the main categories, I can search just fiction. So it'll organize all the fiction books or all the nonfiction books or all of the fantasy books, so I can kind of look at my list. And then in the second half of the spreadsheet, it's almost like my bookkeeping section. So I like to note what day I started the book and when I finished it, just so I can kind of see like, oh, it took me 5 days to read that book. Okay. Oh, it only took me a day to read that one. I must have burned through it really quick or something like that. I also look at how many pages I've read to date in the month, so I keep a rolling tracker beside each book as I finish it. And then lastly, I try and put a rating on there just so I can quickly look through and be like, okay, these are all my 5-star reads for the month. These are all my 5-star reads for the year, etc. And then also on that spreadsheet, you'll see I have it by month. So obviously I'm working on my October list. I have all of those books that I am hoping to read in October or that are options in October already listed there. So they're already there ready for me. I can just cut and paste that line up and down the list as I need to as I read the books. Underneath October are just all of the books on my bookshelf that are yet to be read or that I would like to reread. So I keep track of those and I have a number beside them. It just saves me time because I won't have to completely type out all of the authors and lists and stuff whenever we hit that month. Some other Excel lists that I have in this one document, I have several different tabs of documents in this one section here. I have my big running like would like to read and buy list. So it's probably got like 600 books on there at this point. I need to go through and update it, honestly. As I go through each month on Instagram, I will usually either screenshot a book if someone has rated it 5 stars and it sounds really interesting or whatever. I'll screenshot it. I have it in my screenshots and the pictures, and then I can go back and add it to this list later. On that list, I can also, it has basically all of the same organizational bits that my current month list has. It just doesn't obviously have like read by dates and stuff like that. So I can sort it by rating. Let's sort by nonfiction, and I can kind of see like, oh, I'm going to the bookstore. Maybe I can pick out some of these 5 books. So, sorry tree. That helps me keep organized and kind of have an idea of if I'm stumped, if I'm scrolling through a book website and there are hundreds of options, it can help me narrow down some choices. So I already have some picked out that I know I'm probably going to want and probably going to love. I also have some specific tabs for specific challenges that I've given myself or exist on the internet. Like one of them is the Rory Gilmore book challenge, where you read all the books that are either shown or referenced in the show Gilmore Girls. So there are like 400 and something books on that list. I've got an entire list for classics based like oldest to newest, starting with the Iliad and the Odyssey, moving through 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 1800s. A challenge I'm hoping to do next year is to read books from as many different countries that I can. I have a list of every country in the world, and then I have found some books that are either set in that country or preferably written by someone in that country and set in that country as well. So I hoped to find authors that were from those countries and also wrote about their own setting and culture and things like that. But there are some countries that just don't have those, or this is my issue, not that country's issue or those author's issue. They're not translated into English yet. And I only speak English and only read English. That's a failing of mine. I have an entire spreadsheet of every state in the US and books that are set there or written by authors from there. So that's also a goal of mine, is to read a book from every state or set in every state. Yeah, and so basically there are just a whole bunch of different spreadsheets, and that's how I do the bulk of my planning. And just like pretty much everyone else, I also use Goodreads to track my reading. So obviously, like I said, I have read 82 books out of the year. My goal is 100. I keep track of that on Goodreads because it has a counter. It tells you how many books you need to be reading to keep up with your challenge. And it says I'm 3 ahead right now, which is a great feeling. So I love that tracker. And the reason I don't use Goodreads for all the things I just mentioned and all my Excel spreadsheets is because I feel like it doesn't give me the amount of customization that I want. Yes, you can sort by rating. Yes, you can sort by author and title, and you can sort by quite a few different things. You can put them in little lists of your own. You can do read and want to read. And I do have quite a bit of want to read books on there that may not have yet made it over to my tracker, but I feel like I just get a lot more customization on my Excel spreadsheet, and I like to have it where I don't need the internet to use it. So that's always very handy for me. And that's pretty much how I organize my reading, my tracker lists, as well as the books themselves. If you want to see more about how I actually organize my books, I have a video where we organized my bookshelf together whenever I moved it from a smaller one to these 2 larger ones, and I'll link that. I hope you guys really enjoyed that video. Like I said, it was shot in October. However, I think it was still pretty good. Make sure you subscribe for future content. We are in the middle of Vlogmas or Bookmas, however you want to say it. We'll hopefully be having several different videos throughout the month of December that you can check out. Like the video if you like it, so more people can find us, and check down in the description for any of my other places you can find me on the internet, like Instagram, my vlog, or my second channel where I sometimes upload gaming content. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of December. Bye!